They said the lighthouse on Griefhaven Cliff was cursed. Not haunted, cursed. No one lived there for long. No one should. But Thomas Rourke didn't care. He was a painter with a failing career and a taste for the dramatic. When he inherited the derelict lighthouse from an uncle he'd never met, he saw it as a sign, a place to vanish and create without distraction. The townsfolk warned him, the light doesn't work right. The last keeper vanished after screaming about faces in the glass. Thomas laughed it off. He moved in on a grey October morning, setting up his studio in the lantern room at the top. The cracked glass panes overlooked the sea vast, cold and endless. It was perfect. That night, the wind battered the cliffs. Rain tapped on the glass like fingernails. Thomas drifted off beside a blank canvas, exhausted from hauling supplies. He woke to the smell of salt and something metallic. The canvas was no longer blank. It now bore the portrait of a woman pale-skinned, eyes wide, her lips frozen seaweed tangled in her hair. Bruises blossomed across her throat. Thomas stared at it for a long time. He hadn't painted it, he was certain. Yet the style was unmistakably his, right down to the way the brush swept shadows beneath the eyes. He told himself it was a dream, a hallucination, maybe. Too much stress, too little sleep. But the next morning, there was another, a man, this time his neck at a grotesque angle, skin a pallid blue, foam dried at the corner of his mouth. Behind him, waves churned. Thomas locked the studio door that night. He hid the brushes, sealed the paint. He even set a camera to record the room. The third morning, he found 2 new paintings. The first was of a boy, no more than 12, with blood oozing from his ears. The second was of Thomas himself, sleeping on the studio floor, painted from above, as if someone or something had hovered over him. He watched the footage. There was nothing. Just him, tossing in his sleep, and the canvas, slowly filling with color ... on its own. He went to town that day, shaken and wild-eyed. In a cafe, he caught the local news. 3 bodies had washed up along the coast that week. A woman with ligature marks. A man presumed drowned. A young boy who'd gone missing from the ferry. Thomas's blood ran cold. They were his paintings. Every detail. He staggered out without paying, the waitress yelling behind him. Back at the lighthouse, he tried to leave. He packed a bag, opened the front door, and found only fog. Thick, blinding. Alive. No road. No sea, no sound. He slammed the door shut and fled to the studio. The lighthouse groaned with age. The light above pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. Inside, 3 new canvases sat side by side. One was a charred man, arms raised mid-scream, fire consuming his face. The second was a pregnant woman, water pooling around her. And the third and finished was him again. This time, he was hanging from the lighthouse rafters, tongue swollen, eyes bulging. He screamed, tore the paintings apart, set fire to the easel. The flames danced, devoured the canvas. But in the morning, the portraits returned, untouched, even the hanged version of himself. He tried smashing the glass panes in the lantern room. They wouldn't break. He threw the camera into the sea. It was back on his table by sundown. The next day, he painted over a canvas with black layer upon layer until no color showed through. By morning, the black had peeled away like dead skin. Beneath it, a painting of his own funeral, a dozen mourners, an empty casket, and the lighthouse in the background, its light glowing blood red. That night, he heard whispers in the walls. Paint. Witness. Remember, the light above flared so bright it seared his vision, and in that white-hot flash, he saw every painting he'd ever made, every horror flash before him, like pages in a cursed book. He saw more, too. Faces he hadn't painted yet, victims he would see before they died. The lighthouse wasn't showing him deaths. It was demanding them. It needed the art, the proof. Thomas Tremlin picked up a brush with shaking fingers. The next canvas formed under his hand before he realized what he was doing. A couple, tangled in seaweed, their faces still alive The night after, a woman crushed by rocks. The night after that, a little girl with blood on her hands and a grin too wide for her face. Now, he paints every night. He doesn't sleep anymore. The lighthouse won't let him. And when the villagers see a new painting hanging in the window at the top of the tower, they don't go near the cliff, because within a day or two, someone dies, and the lighthouse paints the dead.